Good morning, everyone. My name is Meenu Sharma. I am agricultural microbiologist in Baba Freed College, Department of Agriculture, BFGI, Bathinda. So today we will discuss about genetic recombination in bacteria. So you all know that bacteria are basically prokaryotes and they reproduce asexually as well as sexually. So this genetic recombination process is basically the sexual part or the sexual behavior of bacteria, which bacteria perform during their lifespan. So in this topic, we also discuss about the various methods of genetic recombination in bacteria. So genetic recombination is the process by which exchange of genes between two DNA molecules to form new combinations of genes on a chromosome. So basically what genetic recombination is, it is basically a process in which there is an exchange of genes between the two bacteria, or you can say two bacterial cells, between their genetic material, so that a new combination can be formed on a chromosome. So there are three different ways in which it can be achieved. One is conjugation, second is transformation, and third one is transduction. So one by one we will discuss how genetic recombination takes place by either of these methods, that is conjugation, transformation, and transduction. So firstly, we will discuss about the conjugation method. So what is conjugation? Firstly, it is a method of genetic recombination. It is one of the most important method of genetic recombination in bacteria. So in this method, transfer of genetic material from one bacteria to another bacteria by physical contact is there. So when genetic material is transferred from one bacteria to another bacteria by physical contact, so that means that two cells are coming together and they are attaching themselves with the help of an external organ, which is like a thread, which is like a minute thread, which are called pilus in singular form and pili in plural form. So with these accessory organs, two bacterial cells join together. They are physically in contact with each other, and the process is called as conjugation. Now the bacterial conjugation is the transfer of genetic material, that is plasmid, between the bacterial cells by direct cell-to-cell contact or by a bridge-like connection between two cells. So likewise, I have explained that there is a physical contact between the two cells, that is called as cell-to-cell contact. And that cell-to-cell contact is accomplished only when there is a bridge-like connection between the two cells. Because it is not possible for a genetic material to get passed from one cell to another cell. So there is a bridge-like connection formed between the two cells, and that bridge-like connection is basically the accessory organ, which is called as pilus, which connects the two bacterium physically. So this bacterial conjugation, they are discovered by the scientists Joshua Lederberg and Edward Tatum in 1946. So in 1946, these two scientists discovered this process in bacteria, that they can sexually reproduce by the conjugation process. So here in this picture, you can see there are two bacterial cells. They're about to conjugate with each other to form the conjugation process, to accomplish the conjugation process. And in these two different cells, you can see the genetic material in blue color. So they both have their own genetic material. But when we talk about the genetic recombination, that means the two different genes from two different sources, they are combining together and forming the recombinant. That means that recombination is happening. That means something new is producing from the existing parents. So these two bacterial cells can be considered as two parents. Now, in one picture on the left side, you can see a circular ring which is yellow in color. So that is basically the plasmid which is present in the bacterial cell. Plasmid is also a genetic material which is basically considered as an extra chromosomal material. So it also contains genetic material, it also contains genes. It is extra chromosomal because it is not attached to the main genetic resource. So it is also present. It can also take part in the conjugation process. So these two cells are now going to participate in the conjugation process, and the extension of the plasma membrane in the left cell, you can see that is basically the pilus which is extending, and it will form a bridge. Now we will see what will happen next. Now from this diagram, you can see this figure explains whole of the conjugation process one by one. Now how this process happens, I have already told that there are two bacterial cells, you can see. Now there is a one bacterial cell which is having the extra chromosomal material, that is the plasmid, and there is another cell which is devoid of the plasmid. So now when conjugation happens, so first of all, what will happen? There is a conjugation pilus, you can see, that is formed between the two cells. Here it is mentioned F plasmid. So the term F plasmid is denoted to the plasmid of one bacterial cell, and the bacterial cell which is having this plasmid, that will be called as F positive cell. Now this F positive cell will be considered as a male cell because there is no clear distinction between the male and female bacterial cell in the bacteria in prokaryotes. So basically, how can a person distinguish between the two cells? So the one that is having the F plasmid, that will be considered as a male cell. So rather than mentioning it as a male cell, the F positive cell is the name given to the bacterial cell. Now on the other hand, the cell which is going to receive this plasmid in itself, that will be considered a female, or we can say F negative cell. So now we can say that conjugation is going to happen between the two cells, that is F positive cell and F negative cell. Now you can see in the first part there is written that donor cell attaches to a recipient cell with its pilus. The pilus draws the cells together. So now this conjugation pilus is forming a bridge here. In the second step, you can see the cells contact one another. Now this pilus helps in contacting the two cells together. Now in the second diagram, you can see the two cells combining together. Now their internal cytoplasms, they have got a connection through a bridge. That means material from one cell can easily pass on to the other cell through this passage. Now in the third step, you can see one strand of plasmid DNA transfers to the recipient. So what is happening basically? The plasmid of F positive cell is opening up from a circular position to a straight position because it will be easy for the plasmid to enter into a F negative cell. So it is forming a linear shape, and then it is passing through the minute passage into the F negative cell. So in the third step, what is happening? One strand of plasmid DNA transfers to the recipient DNA. I would like to mention here one thing, that the F positive cell is also called as donor cell and the F negative cell is also called as recipient cell. Now what will happen next? After this linearization, now you can see in the last diagram, the recipient synthesizes a complementary strand to become an F positive cell. The donor synthesizes a complementary strand, restoring its complete plasmid. So basically what is happening? When the plasmid gets linearized and gets entered into the F negative cell, the F negative cell will synthesize the complementary strand around the donor plasmid and will form a complete plasmid. So that means that now F negative cell has become an F positive cell. So now we can say that the both cells, they become the donor cells. This is how the whole conjugation process continues. So this is called as the conjugation process, in which the genetic recombination is happening. The genetic material from the one cell or the one bacteria, that is recombining into the genetic material of the another bacteria. So this is one of the process of genetic recombination, which is through conjugation. Now we will switch to transformation process. This is again a second method of genetic recombination in bacteria. So in genetic transformation, genetic recombination happens in which a DNA fragment from a dead degraded bacterium enters a competent recipient bacterium and it is exchanged for a piece of the recipient's DNA. So what is happening in the transformation? The bacterium DNA fragment, which is basically dead or degraded, that is not alive, the DNA of that bacterium will enter in only those recipient bacterium which is competitively efficient, or which we can say that is a competent, and it is exchanged for a piece of recipient DNA. So that we can say that the DNA of the recipient bacterium is now transformed with the bacterium of donor dead bacteria. Now the transformation process was first recorded by the scientist Griffith in 1928. First time demonstrated this phenomenon in Streptococcus pneumoniae. So Streptococcus pneumoniae is a bacterium in which Griffith studied this transformation process. What he studied basically, so this is the summarized picture of the transformation experiment performed by Griffith. So here you can see hypothesis is mentioned that material in dead bacterial cells can transform living bacterial cell. So Griffith in 1928 was of the view that there is some material present in the bacterial cells, which are dead bacterial cells, and they, if enter into a live bacterial cell, can transform that bacterial cell. So basically, to confirm this hypothesis, Griffith conducted a series of experiments in which the methodology is given here. He took 4 flasks. In one flask, in first flask, he took live S strain. So basically, the S strain here meant for the smooth strain of Streptococcus pneumoniae. So first beaker or first jar contains living bacterium, which is Streptococcus pneumoniae, and the strain of that bacterium is virulent. Virulent basically means that that strain of bacteria is able to cause disease in the organism in which it is injected. So when this live S strain is injected into the mouse, so Griffith took different number of mouse and tried experiment on them. So when he injected this live S strain, which is virulent in nature, That means that has the ability to cause disease. So that virulent strain results in the death of the mouse. In the second jar, he took live R strain. R strains means that the colonies were rough, and the rough colonies in morphology showed that the strain is non-virulent. Non-virulent means that the bacteria is unable to cause disease. So when this was injected, so mouse lives and there was no S strain detected. In the third step, he took dead S strain, heated and then injected into the mouse. Now he took dead strain of Streptococcus pneumoniae, which is virulent, but before injecting, he heated that. So there was heating involved in this third step. So mouse didn't die, he lives even in the presence of S strain, but when heated. Now in the fourth step, what Griffith did, he mixed both the strains, R strain and S strain. R strain was live strain and the dead strain was S strain, or you can say S strain was dead. So when he injected this solution, then the mouse dies. So what overall he concluded from this experiment? That a chemical substance from one cell is genetically transforming another cell. So from this experiment, Griffith wants to explain that there is something present in the dead S strain which gets transformed into the live R strain and making it virulent from the non-virulent. Because the results shown here shows that the mouse dies. So that means that transformation happens in the bacteria because the virulent S strain, even if it is dead, it is passing some genetic material of it is to the live strain, and that live R strain is getting transformed into the S strain. Because of that, the mouse dies. So Griffith on that time doesn't say it as a genetic material, but he said that there is a chemical substance from one cell which is genetically transforming another cell. So this is how the transformation process works. Now if we go step by step in transformation, then it involves 4 steps. First step is a donor bacterium dies and is degraded. So here in this picture you can see a donor bacterium, and now when it is degraded, the fragment of DNA from dead bacterium, they are taken or they are extracted. In the second step, a fragment of DNA from the dead donor bacterium binds to DNA binding proteins on the cell wall of a competent living recipient bacterium. So here the DNA fragments from the dead bacterium, that means a donor bacterium, they will bind now to the competent cell and will transform it into a new cell with having a different or recombinant genetic material. So here you can see in the picture that a fragment of DNA from a dead bacterium first gets attached to a DNA binding protein outside the cell, present outside the cell membrane, and it is taken inside, and the living competent recipient bacterium will get it. In the next step, the REC-A protein promotes genetic exchange between a fragment of the donor's DNA and the recipient's DNA. Now what will happen? There is a REC-A protein which is present inside the competent cell or the recipient cell. The REC-A protein, it will promote the genetic exchange between the fragment of donor DNA and the recipient DNA. So here in this picture, you can see the donor DNA fragment will get attached to the recipient DNA. And in the fourth step, the exchange will be complete. Now you can see there will be a new DNA formed inside the cell which is having the DNA of both cells, that is the donor one and the recipient one. So this was the second method of genetic recombination in bacteria, that is called as transformation. Now comes the third step, that is called as transduction. Now transduction is the third way out to carry out genetic recombination in bacteria naturally. So transduction is a special method because it involves viruses, and these viruses, they are basically a carrier. They are basically a carrier of a genetic material, and they are just passing that material from one organism or one bacteria to another bacteria. Now about transduction, genetic recombination in which a DNA fragment is transferred from one bacterium to another by a bacteriophage. Now here the bacteriophage term means those viruses which infects bacterial cells. So they are called as bacteriophages. Transduction in bacteria, they are discovered by Lederberg and Zinder in 1951. Two types of transduction occurs in bacteria. So the two types are generalized transduction and specialized transduction. Now what happens in the generalized transduction process? A DNA fragment, it is transferred from one bacterium to another by a lytic bacteriophage that is now carrying donor bacterial DNA due to an error in the maturation during the lytic life cycle. So it is a very interesting process, and it involves a different kind of system in the bacterial cell, because it involves this transduction process involves the usage of bacteriophages, which are basically viruses. And viruses do not know that they are actually changing the genetic material of the bacterial cell in which they are getting entered or they are infecting. So in generalized transduction, a DNA fragment is transferred from one bacterium to another by a lytic bacteriophage. Now a lytic bacteriophage is a bacteriophage which has the capacity to lyse the bacterial cell. Lyse means to degrade it completely. So this lytic bacteriophage is basically carrying the donor bacterial DNA in itself, and this happens due to the error in maturation during the lytic life cycle. So basically this bacteriophage performs a lytic life cycle in which during the maturation phase there is an error in the DNA formation, and by chance this virus, this bacteriophage, by mistake took the DNA or genetic material of the bacterial cell which it is basically infecting. So there are 7 steps of generalized transduction. So first step is the lytic bacteriophage absorbs to a susceptible bacterium. So basically lytic bacteriophage here means the phage which will lyse the cell, which will break down the cell. It will adsorb. That means it will just get attached to the surface of the bacterial cell. And the bacterial cell, only those bacterial cells it gets attached to or adsorbed to which are basically susceptible. Now in the picture you can see the bacteriophages coming towards the bacterial cell, and viral genome you can see in the red color. Now this viral bacteriophage having viral genome, it will get adsorbed to the yellow colored bacterial cell, and you can see the nucleoid present in the bacteria. Now what will happen in the next step? The bacteriophage genome enters the bacterium. The genome directs the bacterium's metabolic machinery to manufacture bacteriophage components and enzymes. So in this picture, you can see the bacteriophage is injecting its genome, which is red in color, inside the bacterial cell. Now this genome will take over the machinery of the bacterial cell, and it will instruct the bacterial genetic system to make a lot more copies, millions of copies of it. The bacteriophage will use the host machinery and host enzymes for this purpose. Now a bacteriophage head or capsid assembles around a fragment of donor bacterium's nucleoid or around a plasmid instead of a phage genome by mistake. Now in this is a crucial step. Here you can see in the third step in generalized transduction that during the assembly of the bacteriophage, when the different parts of the genome are synthesized, viral genome are synthesized, virus particles are synthesized, the genome of virus will direct the assemblage of different virus particles, and in some bacteriophages, by mistake, the genome of bacteria gets entered or assembled inside. So in this diagram, you can see the extreme left bacteriophage is having blue colored, or you can say black colored genome, which is basically bacterial genome and not the viral one. The other ones are having red colored viral genome, like the parent had. So in the fourth step, the bacteriophages, they are released. Now because this is a lytic life cycle of the bacteriophage, so the bacteriophages, the new progeny which is formed from the parent, so these bacteriophages, they'll get released by breaking the cell membrane of the bacterial cell and completely lysing it. In the fifth step, the bacteriophage carrying the donor bacterium's DNA adsorbs to a recipient bacterium. Now what will happen? This bacteriophage, which by mistake has taken bacterial genome, that will attack some other susceptible bacteria, and by chance it will inject that bacterial genome inside it, inside the new bacterial cell. And this is how this bacterial genome, which is taken from the donor bacterial cell, that will incorporate into the new bacterial cell. So you can see there are two things going on simultaneously. One is the lytic life cycle of the bacteriophage, and simultaneously the genetic recombination in bacteria. So in the fifth step, you can see that a particular bacteriophage having bacterial genome will attack the further bacterial cells and pass on the donor's bacterial genome into the next one. Then comes the sixth step. The bacteriophage inserts the donor bacterium's DNA it is carrying into the recipient bacterium. So this I have already told you that this bacteriophage will inject again, the process will get repeated again and again. So this bacterial genome, now you can see, which is blue in color, it will now is injected by the bacteriophage inside the bacterial cell. Now in the seventh step, the donor bacterium's DNA is exchanged for some of the recipient's DNA. Now in the seventh step, you can see the injected genetic material that is getting incorporated here in the host bacterial genome, which is green in color, and the foreign recipient genetic material, which is blue in color, that is getting incorporated. So this is how the genetic recombination occurs. So that was the case of generalized transduction, in which by mistake during the maturation or assemblage of virus particles, the bacterial genome is took up by the particle as a mistake, and that is transferred to the another bacterial cell. So that is a chance event, and that process is called as generalized transduction. Now comes the second process, that is specialized transduction. Now specialized transduction differs from the generalized one in a way that in generalized transduction, lytic life cycle was performed by the virus or a bacteriophage. But in specialized transduction, there is no lytic life cycle. There is another kind of cycle which is performed by the bacteriophages, and that is called as lysogenic life cycle. Now, what is lysogenic life cycle and how it differs from the lytic life cycle? Lysogenic life cycle is a life cycle performed by the bacteriophages in which when they inject their viral genome, that genome does get incorporated with the bacterial genome but does not cause the lysis of the bacterial cell. So the process performed by such bacteriophages is called as lysogenic life cycle. So again, there are 6 steps for specialized transduction. First step is a temperate bacteriophage adsorbs to a susceptible bacterium and injects its genome. So here the term temperate bacteriophage is mentioned. A temperate bacteriophage is that phage which does not cause lysis of the bacterial cell, but its genome gets attached to the recipient bacterial cell's genome. So that bacteriophage is called as temperate bacteriophage. So now this temperate bacteriophage, likewise in generalized transduction process, adsorbs to a susceptible bacterium and it will inject its genome inside it. So in the picture you can see the pink colored material is a viral genome which it will inject, and in the next step the bacteriophage inserts its genome into the bacterium's nucleoid to become a prophage. Now again, the term prophage is mentioned here. What is prophage? Prophage is basically the material which is getting attached to the donor bacterium. So in the second step, the bacteriophage inserts its genome into the bacterium's nucleoid to become a prophage. So in the picture you can see this is a prophage whose genetic material is not causing any kind of lysis. Now occasionally during spontaneous induction, a small piece of the donor bacterium's DNA is picked up as part of the phage's genome in place of some of the phage DNA which remains in the bacterium's nucleoid. So in specialized transduction, the viral genome which gets attached to the bacterial nucleoid, when it gets separated, it takes some of the bacterial genome with it. So in the picture you can see, this phage DNA is having a blue colored portion of the bacterial DNA inside it. Now this is the recombinant DNA which it will transfer to the next bacterial cell. We'll see how. Now as the bacteriophage replicates, the segment of bacterial DNA replicates as part of the phage's genome. Every phage now carries that segment of bacterial DNA. Now when assemblage occurs, that segment of bacterial DNA which viral genome is carrying, that will enter into the every bacteriophage particle. Now you can see in the picture every new progeny is carrying that recombinant DNA inside it, which is not completely viral, which is not completely bacterial, but a combination of both. So now in the 5th step, what will happen? The bacteriophage adsorbs to a recipient bacterium and injects its genome. Now how this recombination process will happen? Basically now if any of these viral particles when infect another bacterial cell, because the yellow colored bacterial cell is different from this orange colored bacterial cell. So one thing is important in fourth step, that you can see there is no lysis. So specialized transduction process basically is lysogenic in nature and not lytic. Second thing is that when these bacteriophages having recombinant DNA, when they infect some other bacterial cell, like shown in this picture, they'll inject this genome inside the other bacterial cell. Now you can see this other bacterial cell is having green colored genome, bacterial genome, or you can say bacterial nucleoid. So now how the recombination process has occurred? This bacteriophage during its lysogenic life cycle has played a simultaneous role in by mistake carrying the DNA of one bacterium and just transferring it into the another bacterium by chance by integrating this genomic material of bacterial cells in its genome. That's why it is a specialized transduction process, because basically the lysis is not happening. The virus is doing its own job and it is just transferring. It is acting as a vector here. It is acting as a carrier here. It is just transferring its material, not its material, but not only its material, but material of some other organism also. So in a way, we can say that they are playing a crucial role in carrying out genetic recombination in bacterial species. And this genetic recombination process by bacteriophages is basically called as transduction process. So here in the fifth step, I was explaining that the bacteriophage will adsorb to the next bacterium and will inject its genome there. After that, in the last step, the bacteriophage genome carrying the donor bacterial DNA inserts into the recipient bacterium's nucleoid. Now, in the sixth step, we can say that genetic recombination has happened through the transduction process. Here you can see that the bacterial cell whose genome is shown in green color is having an attached DNA, which is phage DNA, which is pink in color, and a blue portion of the donor bacterial DNA. So this is how the whole recombination process happens. So thank you so much for listening. So these three were the main processes with the help of which genetic recombination in bacteria is carried out naturally. So one was conjugation, second one was transformation, and third one was transduction. I hope you learn a lot from this lecture. Thank you so much for listening.